Command that which is good. Wanha anil munkar. Forbid that which is evil. In other words, once you've taken care of yourself, don't forget that you have a community that you have to correct. You have a family that you are responsible for. Islam is not a selfish religion that you worry about yourself and you ignore everyone else. It does not tell you to be a hermit, to go live in the mountains and worship Allah and ignore society. You must live and be a part of the society. Be a productive member of the society. If you are not, you have not done your job as a Muslim. You have not done your full job as a Muslim. Yes, pray, fast, be in your heart, have the consciousness of Allah. But don't forget that your society has right over you as well. You have to make a change. First and foremost to those you are responsible for, your wife and your children. Then to your relatives. Then to your friends, and then to society at large. Command what is good and forbid what is evil. This commanding what is good and forbidding what is evil, it must be based upon knowledge. So this is an implicit command to learn. How can you command what is good when you don't know what is good? And how can you forbid what is evil when you don't know what is evil? So there is an implied command here, learn your religion. Understand it. Practice it, and then preach it. Preach it to others as well. And this is a common dichotomy, if you like, of Western society. Western society believes that each person has the right to do whatever he wishes. Complete freedom. He can worship a donkey, he can worship a cow, he can worship whatever he wants. That's his choice to do. And we have no right even to say anything. This is his personal choice. However, these same laws, when it comes to physical harm, such as drugs, such as alcohol, they will regulate it because they see the danger. No, you cannot just have any type of drugs. No, you cannot just go and do this and that. This is a dichotomy, this is a paradox. How can you prohibit a physical harm and ignore a spiritual harm, which is far worse than that? How can you take care of the physical body? You cannot kill another human being. You cannot commit suicide. You cannot. And then you ignore the greatest commandments, which is the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a dichotomy that they have, and they have no answer to this because in reality, in the Muslim state, as you know, yes, there is freedom of religion for those who are not Muslims, but the Muslim is not allowed to convert away. The Muslim cannot convert to another faith. If we're not going to allow the Muslim to commit murder, if we're not going to allow him to commit suicide, rape, adultery, stealing, lying, cheating, how can we allow him to take a cow as his God or to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Even more so, this is not allowed. So command what is good, forbid what is evil based upon knowledge. And do so to the level that you are qualified to do. You cannot physically change everything. You have physical control over very few people. The leader is responsible for his entire country. The father is responsible for the children. The husband is responsible for the wife. The mother is also responsible for the children. These people you have physical control over. You can physically force them to do what you want. You can tell your child to pray, and you have to tell him to pray. And he must pray. Others, you cannot physically do anything. Therefore, you move to level 2, which is that of the tongue. Your family who are older than you, your relatives, your friends, you cannot physically force them. So you move to stage 2, which is advice, which is obviously gentle, with wisdom, polite. You advise them, remind them. And then there are those people you cannot even do that to. So we move to the 3rd stage, which the Prophet ﷺ described as the lowest form of iman, and that is that you hate it in your heart and you wish you could change it in your heart. And that is a lot of the evil that we see in this society that we live in. We cannot physically change it. Sometimes we cannot even speak out against it. We have to just hate it in the heart, and that is the lowest form of iman. So command what is good and forbid what is evil. Once you have perfected your relationship between Allah and your relationship with society by telling them to do what they're supposed to do, what is the next step? Well, mankind does not like to be reminded of good advice. If you tell someone, my dear brother, what you're doing is not correct. You should try to start praying 5 times a day. Try to be a better Muslim, so on and so forth. What is the first reaction? Mind your own business. Who are you to tell me what to do? And so on and so forth. So Luqman tells his son that after you have started this, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Be patient at what will happen to you. Be patient. It's not going to be an easy task. It's not going to be a bed of roses telling people what to do. Nobody or very few people like advice. Only the believers love to be advised. As for the weak in iman, as for the kuffar, they usually don't like advice. So, the fact that they don't like advice doesn't change the fact that you need to preach to them in a good manner. And when they start their evil towards you, they say bad things about you, wasbir, be patient. Restrain yourself. Inna dhalika lamin azm al-umur. This is of the most important matters to stick to. Azm al-umur means you must cling to it. You must be with it all the time. Never allow someone getting angry at you to prevent you in preaching to others. If they get angry at you, that is between them and Allah. That doesn't make your right any less of telling them what is correct. Should you then return anger with anger? Luqman goes on. Everything is logical here, by the way. The entire advice is step by step. Luqman is building the foundation and he's building the pyramid to get to the top. He is going everything in logical order here. Once you have advised them and they have been rude to you and you have been patient, should you be rude back to them? No. Luqman goes on and says, وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. Don't raise your cheeks up at man. Don't be arrogant and haughty at them again. If they have been rude to you, that does not give you the license to be rude back to them. If they have been evil to you, don't be arrogant back towards them. And notice the beauty in the Quran, this beautiful Arabic metaphor, don't raise your cheeks to man. It's a metaphor and it's also a symbolism. Literally, don't raise your cheeks, don't be haughty, don't be arrogant. And metaphorically, be humble. Be humble. وَلَا تُصَعِرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. And don't walk arrogantly on the face of this earth. Even in the way that a person walks, he can exude arrogance and he can exude humility. And Allah wants us to exude humility. Allah describes the believers that وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. The servants of the Rahman, the servants of Allah, they walk humbly on the face of this earth. They walk modestly on the face of this earth. And when the Prophet ﷺ would walk, it is described that he would walk as if he is going down a slope. In other words, he would walk in a humble manner, not arrogantly puffed up with pride. He would walk in a humble manner, because this is what is befitting of a mu'min, of a believer. وَلَا تُصَعِرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Another aspect that we get from this is that we should always treat people in the best of all manners. As we all know, the Prophet ﷺ said that even to smile in the face of your brother will be an act of charity that you will be rewarded for. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ never turned away from someone in a conversation. He never removed his hand first after shaking hands. The companions said that whenever we shook the Prophet ﷺ's hand, we would be the first to take it back. The Prophet ﷺ would never do so. And he would never turn his back to someone else. Well, he did so once, if you remember. Once only. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanded him in a beautiful way. عَبَسَ وَتَوَلَّى أَنْ جَاءَهُ الْأَعْمَى. He frowned and turned away when the blind man came to him, Ibn Maktoum. The Prophet ﷺ was speaking with a mighty prince or a mighty leader of the Quraysh. When the blind man came, Ibn Maktoum, he did not know who was with the Prophet ﷺ. So he became happy and he wanted to ask some questions. So the leaders of Quraysh made fun of the Prophet ﷺ and they said, these are the people that follow you, blind men and the lower caste of society. How can we come to you? So the Prophet ﷺ, this was the only time, early in the Meccan stage, he frowned and he turned away.